If you say the word shark, I think that every single person in the world, their ears are going to perk up. I would say that the general public fears sharks, and that's probably through a combination of what they see in the media, where sharks are often villainized, and also just being afraid of the unknown. Most students and people who are environmentally conscious probably know sharks as predators, that they are important for the ecosystem. Divers, for example, probably have a large respect for sharks, and they want to actually see sharks and seek out sharks. There are lots of different ways to study sharks. It can be both low-tech, just observing them in the wild do their thing, or it can be more high-tech, like attaching ultrasonic or satellite tags that allow you to track the migration patterns of these animals. It really depends on the specific question that the scientists are trying to study, the species that they are interested in studying, and the environment that the animals exist within. One of the biggest obstacles and challenges to studying sharks is just how relatively rare they are. In nature, large predators are rare to begin with, and then you're talking about animals that, for the most part, have been overfished or impacted by human threats, which have caused many populations to decline. Often, research in sciences is just limited by the lack of data, and that's something a good citizen science program can help with. We also use citizen science as a really great tool to engage the public, to get them to learn about marine biology, to learn about the need for shark conservation, and to get them to participate and become actively involved in participatory research. Most people describe sharks in general as a single group, and maybe at best they can name 3 to 5 different of the most charismatic species. But there's over 500 different types of sharks, and they inhabit many different ecosystems in the world. They live in the deepest parts of the ocean, they live in coral reefs, they even live in high latitudes, and some sharks live under ice. They are found in virtually every marine and some freshwater environments. Based on the species, their lifestyle, whether they live close to the bottom or live in the water column, whether they are far or fast-moving or relatively sedentary and slow-moving, can influence how you study them and the approaches to use. An animal that can easily be observed in shallow water or near the surface, or that doesn't move very fast or far, might lend itself more to observations with your own eye, like diver-based surveys. Whereas sharks that are faster or migrate over long distances are going to need to take a different approach to study their behavior, and this might include something like satellite tracking. Locating them is the big challenge, especially since they live underwater, essentially invisible to us most of the time. Just finding them is not always easy.
The Shark Research and Conservation Program is based at the University of Miami.
Something I would say that's unique about shark research here in South Florida is just the variety of different species that we encounter near shore. They range from small bonnetheads, Atlantic sharpnose or black-nosed sharks, all the way to the large apex predators like tiger sharks, great hammerheads, and bull sharks. One of the benefits is the diversity of species that we get and the relative ease in finding them in the different ecosystems that they rely on for different times in their life, like the mangroves or seagrass or coral reefs, which are within a boat ride for us. The Shark Research and Conservation Program, or SRC, at the University of Miami that I found and now direct really originated. The whole concept started about 15 years ago. When I was a grad student, a local high school emailed our university listserv and asked if any of the students or faculty at the university would provide data for their kids to have real hands-on experiencing analyzing in their new computer lab. I responded and went to the school and met the students, being really impressed with the work these students produced. I also became really inspired by the interactions I had with these students. And so we came up with a plan to try to actually bring the students from these high school classes to South Africa with me to actually see white sharks hunting seals and actually collect real data, hands-on, not just get the finished product. So in 2004, I was able to secure a grant where we brought a high school class with me to South Africa for several weeks to work with me on my graduate research to collect data that we then brought back to Florida and actually analyzed in the classroom in this high school's computer lab that eventually led to publications. And through various educational networks, local schools heard about it, and I was getting approached by a lot of different teachers from local school groups to also have the opportunity for their students to join me and go to South Africa on field trips to collect data. At that time, I was just starting my PhD here at the University of Miami Rosenstiel School and thought I really liked that outreach aspect, particularly the participatory aspect of having the students involved in real science. Maybe I could develop something that was linked to my PhD research here locally that could integrate that citizen science component. It was from that experience that I saw the value and need to involve the public, particularly school children, in real research to inspire them in science, technology, engineering, and math, and saw sharks as the hook as a way to get these groups engaged. And out of that was born what would eventually become the Shark Research and Conservation Program, or SRC, at the University of Miami. In these times, I see there's a growing mistrust of science. For example, people are disbelieving facts. Not only that, we're seeing that students, like young children, are not really getting inspired to become scientists or even care about science, math, and arithmetic. They are not getting inspired to go out to become scientists, engineers, or biologists. Coupled with that, in many communities there's a general lack of environmental ethic, which is a problem given that the world is under tremendous threat from climate change, overfishing, overexploitation, and habitat degradation. So taken together, what this really means is that there is a need to increase the appreciation and knowledge of science, and also for people to care about the environment and exhibit pro-environmental behavior. So for us at SRC, bringing people, especially school children, out on the boat to get hands-on experience in marine biology, in research, in conservation science, I think has value in inspiring these people to care about science and hopefully help increase their interest in science careers or in an appreciation of scientific literacy, and hopefully also inspire more of a conservation ethic that provides them with pro-conservation and pro-environmental behaviors that ultimately will help benefit the planet.
What's kind of funny is I'm part of this lab that really promotes and endorses citizen science research, but I have to say that I'm skeptical of just anybody going out and doing it, and I'll tell you why. I think sometimes people begin with the best intentions, but if they're not really backing up their proposed science or programmatic goals with scientific outcomes in mind, I think that you're kind of setting yourself up for failure from the get-go. So what should people do instead of founding their own citizen science shark tagging program? They might try to find existing programs that are already doing good work and try to find ways to plug into them. We thrive on awareness here, so we like to make our science readily available to everybody. I think awareness is a great tool in conservation. However, I think that if awareness is the only tool in your tool belt, you're probably doing it wrong. You want to try to expand awareness beyond just Instagram followers and really try to engage multiple stakeholder groups. That is either the local governments or the agencies responsible for advancing conservation, the user groups that are at or near the ocean, and sometimes people who are not even close to the ocean at all. So trying to get more people into the camp of research and to expand the conversation. I'll tell this to anybody who will listen, but I think one of the things that makes our program special is that there really isn't a day that we're conducting science that we're not also conducting outreach. So for every opportunity that we're in the field, we most likely have citizen science there to help us conduct the research, but we're also educating the public. If we've explained the importance, cradle to grave, of taking a fin clip to how that translates into science later, and they remember that and they think about it, then we hope that they are not only advocates for the research, but sharks themselves.
The key to all of this is it's not just participation in field research, but it's the generation of real scientific data that gets published that ultimately helps inform our knowledge about these animals and will hopefully help inform decisions of policymakers that go into help conserve the needed shark populations. What's also valuable is just having citizen science become aware of the research that hopefully engages them, and maybe that'll be able to find data points that are rare that otherwise would have gone unnoticed with more infrequent sampling in maybe smaller areas.
One of the primary items that probably comes to mind when you're thinking about shark tagging would be the actual tag for the shark. One of the major tags we use is called a dart tag. Now this is the tag that we use on almost every shark every day. These tags also are given to us by NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, by their fisheries department. And this is part of their cooperative tagging program. So each tag has information on the inside to call NOAA if you've reported the shark again and report its length. And every time we tag a shark with this tag, we fill out this little postcard with the species, the date, the location of where we caught the shark, how big it was, what sex it is. And we send this to NOAA, and NOAA is compiling these from researchers from all over the US and also from recreational fishermen that catch sharks all over the US. And they can use this to compile a large database on the sharks that are out there.
Meanwhile, on the west coast of the United States, a different approach is being taken to collect data on sharks. Ocean Sanctuaries is also using citizen scientists, but they are not taking them on research trips.
Obviously, sharks do not come on command. So what that means is you can go to an area where the presence of sharks is generally known, either to beachgoers or divers, and you can go in the water and you can hope for the best. But if the shark doesn't show up, you've got no shark and you've got no data. So that's obviously the number one challenge we face. What is unique about what is happening in Southern California in terms of citizen science shark research is that we have a large number of very, very motivated divers who enjoy diving around sharks. I know that may sound strange to some people, but who truly enjoy being around sharks. And when they're asked to collect data about them, they're overjoyed. The main technique we use in ocean sanctuaries for collecting data on sharks with citizen science is a process we call a verifiable encounter, which simply means if you're just doing your normal dive and you happen to see a shark, you simply take a photograph of it and you upload it to one or more databases that we work with.
Everybody's got these underwater cameras now, right? Waterproof cameras. And so they can take photographs and video, which is verifiable, right? So then they can put them into a database. There's a lot of public databases now. People are out there, regular people are out there, scuba diving, in tide pools, things like that, much, much more often than researchers are.
The advantage we have is primarily in numbers, because as a lot of researchers may tell you, there's a limited number of graduate students out there. So what we do is we make up for those limited numbers by employing what we like to call an army of citizen scientists that are out there collecting data for us. We actually have an area here in San Diego where seven-gill sharks are known to be present.
Seven-gill sharks are, you would think they don't have any like real specific pattern, but they actually have freckles. And the freckles are like a fingerprint. And that fingerprint then can identify an individual shark. So the photograph or video gets uploaded to the software. We have somebody who goes through and actually marks the spots. It gets submitted to an algorithm, and then later that data can get matched against other spot mapping. And you can then basically say, hey, this is a new shark, we've not seen it before, or oh, we've seen the shark before, and connect the two pieces of data.
We also have a zero data program, which means if you go into the water hoping to see a seven-gill and you don't, then there's another database you can upload your data that says, I went here looking for a seven-gill and I did not see any. We always make it clear that we are not professional shark researchers, we are citizen scientists. We hope that, for one thing, what we are doing is establishing scientific protocols. And the way we do that is we use a principal investigator. For each one of our citizen science projects, we have a professional scientist looking over our shoulder to inspect the data to make sure it follows proper scientific protocol. So in that respect, we want to make sure data quality and data integrity, so that one day down the road, if a researcher would like to say, how many seven gills have you seen in the La Jolla area, we know that whatever data we submit will be of high quality scientifically.
As we cross the Atlantic Ocean, other programs around the world are also trying to collect data and research sharks. In the Mediterranean Sea, scientists are dealing with the struggles of researching species that are unfortunately not as common as they used to be. Here in Barcelona, Cat Sharks is one of those organizations trying to push forward and still study sharks despite all obstacles.
CatShark es una asociación nacida en Barcelona, se dedica al estudio de tiburones y rayas y quimeras, pero en general nos enfocamos en especies que están en peligro de extinción. A diferencia de otras zonas como el Mar Caribe o zonas donde los tiburones son más abundantes, el Mediterráneo es una zona que tiene una gran diversidad, pero una baja abundancia. Más de la mitad de los tiburones y rayas están en peligro de extinción, por ende es muy difícil hacer ciencia con ellos, hacer muestreos. Por eso mismo, lo que necesitamos es muchos ojos para poder tener una gran cantidad de muestras, porque si vamos a pescar, lo más probable es que no obtengamos muchas muestras. Y lo que necesitamos saber primero es qué especies habitan en estas costas y luego qué hacen estas especies, cómo se mueven, cuán abundantes son. Entonces lo más difícil que tenemos es poder ubicarlas y por eso es que necesitamos la ciencia ciudadana. La función de la ciencia ciudadana es que en vez de que seamos nosotros los científicos los que observemos, que no somos muchos, la función es que multipliquemos esos ojos y que tengamos observadores a lo largo de toda la costa catalana. Cuando nosotros organizamos campañas, generalmente va un grupo de científicos. Si hacemos que sean los mismos ciudadanos los que sean los científicos o los observadores, pues nos puede llegar muchísima más información que si hacemos campaña. A nivel específico, por ejemplo, ya nos hemos dado cuenta que en el área de Canarias nos hemos encontrado con tiburones sol rayo. Las hembras se acercan a la costa, al parecer para estar en reposo y para que puedan tener un lugar de descanso y luego dejar a sus crías en un lugar cerca de la plataforma continental en la zona del Hierro. Generalmente son las mismas hembras maduras las que se acercan casi todos los años y justo este año al parecer se están acercando nuevas hembras y eso nosotros no lo podríamos saber si es que no estuviesen ahí los observadores ciudadanos viendo cada día qué hay en esa zona. Al principio yo pensé que podrían haber problemas de identificación principalmente, pero nos encontramos con la plataforma ciudadana Observadores del Mar, que tiene un sistema bastante adecuado para este tipo de observaciones, porque funciona de la siguiente manera. El observador saca una fotografía, georreferencia esa fotografía y él propone un nombre para la especie. Luego esta observación es subida a la plataforma Observadores del Mar y hay un experto que valida esta especie y dice, mira, es esta especie, ¿te has dado cuenta si es macho o hembra? Muchos observadores no lo saben, desconocen de ciertos temas biológicos porque no se dedican a esto, entonces vienen y preguntan. En el año pasado solamente de una especie se registraron más de 150 observaciones. Tiene limitaciones, pero si hay interacción entre el científico y el observador, ambos se complementan y se obtiene una mucho mejor observación. Cualquier persona puede participar en observadores del mar. Puede ser pescadería, puede ser la lonja, puede ser un pescador, puede ser un buzo, un niño envía fotografía, georreferencia y como hay feedback entre el investigador y el observador, ambos nos complementamos y ambos nos beneficiamos de esa observación. Ellos aprenden muchísimo más de la especie en particular y nosotros pues aprendemos de la distribución de esta especie.
All around the world, research projects are increasing their use of citizen science for the study of sharks, but also for other species. And efforts are paying off.
A lot of our research showed that hammerhead sharks are very susceptible to stress on the fishing line. And this research actually did influence policymakers to change the policies for shark fishing in Florida. In Florida state waters, if you have a hammerhead shark on the line, you are not allowed to land that shark. That means bring it on shore or up on the boat. If you are within Florida state waters, which is 3 miles from shore, you need to cut the line as close to the hook as you can, as quickly as possible, and let that shark go. No pictures, no anything. Our ultimate goal is to help influence policy that surrounds sharks and to better conserve these animals.
We believe in citizen science research. It's getting the public out there and having them put their hands in the research. But it does have its limitations. Strong citizen science should be grounded in vetted processes. It should be carefully thought out. And as always, it should be moving in the direction of measurable outcomes.
The trick is how best to involve the citizen scientists. Not only how many, but what can they do? What's the type of data that can reliably be collected? Is it something where you need to actually bring people out on the boat? Or is it something like providing a data sheet in some tools that citizen scientists can go out and collect valuable water samples or soil samples? Or is it information they could possibly collect with their smartphones? I mean, everyone these days has a smartphone, and there's some amazing apps out there that are available to collect data that's from citizen science that supports numerous research projects.
Let's say you're not a diver and you just enjoy being around the ocean. Then you can do things such as tide pooling. And tide pooling has been around for many years and many people are familiar with it. Ocean Sanctuaries uses a database called iNaturalist, where if you go to the beach and you do your tide pooling, you take a photograph of a starfish, you can upload it to the iNaturalist database. If you're just a casual snorkeler and you happen to find yourself, say, in a kelp bed, you can bring a camera, take photographs of what you see in the kelp. Some forms of citizen scientists can be done from a boat in terms of the ocean.
Every person that has a smartphone could participate in some form of citizen science. There are many apps out there, whether it's identifying beetles or frog sounds in cities. I mean, it's amazing what can be done as a citizen scientist just through your own smartphone.
Citizen science has been growing in popularity among researchers, as it has enhanced our ability to collect scientific data for many projects around the world. If this interests you, we highly recommend you to seek those programs that are near you. With your participation, you will not only learn directly from experts, you will also contribute to the advancement of our understanding of the world that surrounds us.